Next day of sitting, sir.
Is that seconded? All those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. A message from the Legislative Council to the House of Assembly. The Legislative Council has agreed to the bill returned herewith titled An Act for the Appropriation of Money from the Consolidated Account for the financial year ending on 30th of June 2026 without any amendment.
Manager of Government Business, would you like to move that the House now adjourn? Oh, the Treasurer.
I move that the House do now adjourn, sir.
Is that seconded? Okay, there may be some debate. The Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, and well, what a disappointment. The headline for tomorrow, no doubt, is going to be Treasurer claims tiny surplus and, meanwhile, towering debt for South Australians. And many of us will have up on the pinboard one round of Treasurer presiding over towering debt in South Australia when it was just at $44 billion. We've just heard from the Treasurer that the state is now going to be burdened with just about $50 billion by the time we next look at it. We're at 48.9 based on what we've just been told, and against the background of what appears to be a complete lack of vision from this government nearly 4 years in. And who would have thought that Malinowskis Labor would, at this stage, be such a tired government, lacking in any vision whatsoever for South Australians, and yet burdening them with more debt than this state has ever seen by far. And if it wasn't enough to see that lack of vision on display, it's compounded by yet another display of incompetence across the board simply to manage the executive responsibilities of government. We only need to turn to the budget statement at page 23 to see yet again what South Australians have become used to looking at as the table of despair for this Malinowskis Labor government. We go down in alphabetical order, and as I feared this morning, we see child protection expenditure over budget by a full $156 million. And what does the government have to show for that but ongoing crisis in child protection? We don't have anything to show for it, but we have not only generous provision, but $156 million in blown budget in child protection. Just to take another example, we don't have to go much further down the list to see health and wellbeing blown out by $739 million to budget. Human services blown by $148 million to budget. Infrastructure and transport, $300 million. And the list goes on, compounding what we've now become used to is this combination of a lack of vision and year-on-year incompetence. And what it leads to is a budget measures process that announces that, to take that first example of child protection, we're going to have more measures. We're going to have provision for out-of-home care in child protection. Well, what that is just mopping up the over-expense that's just occurred, and it's happened year on year on year. And my colleagues and I will be unpacking that in the estimates process shortly to come. But it is a tale of woe. As I've indicated, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, a tiny surplus. The Treasurer has just stood up and said that there'll be this tiny surplus and an even more towering, unprecedented debt for all South Australians. The key issue for South Australians today, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, is that Labor has proved to South Australians that it is completely out of touch with our needs, with those needs of all of us here in South Australia. And instead, what it's committed to is frivolously whittling away what few taxpayer dollars are now available on ongoing vanity projects. They're not delivering the relief that South Australians need. And meanwhile, South Australians are continuing to face sky-high energy prices, sky-high water bills with more to come, and the ongoing housing crisis. And we've heard the Premier endeavour to kind of spin his way out of the housing crisis. When he's presented with the opportunity to provide relief for first home buyers, what does he do? Oh, well, he sort of spins that as, nothing more to see here, and defends his Treasurer, who said just a couple of days ago, oh, well, actually, there's nothing more for the government to do. And how dare we on the opposition come along and propose more? Oh, no. No, that would disrupt the sort of benign situation of a super minister over here who's presiding over not one slab, despite all of these sort of announced releases of land that are supposed to answer the Premier's supply side problem, but no measures to provide relief, particularly for young South Australians looking to build or buy their first home. And you'll hear more from this opposition about that, because we care about young South Australians who are wanting to find their first home. So Labor provides no vision for South Australians, and it compounds that by the incompetence that is on display right on the face of the budget statement. So as I've indicated, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, what we've heard today from the Treasurer and what South Australians will read about tomorrow in the paper is this towering debt iceberg. Normally, you talk about an iceberg and there's just that bit above the surface. This is a towering debt iceberg. It's more than we've ever seen at $48.5 billion by 28-29. It's the biggest debt in our history. We belled the cat on it last year, and South Australians will now be saying, when does the debt end? When do you stop spending our money? And when's this going to turn into some sort of engagement with the real issues that affect South Australians? And in case that number is just too mind-boggling to get to grips with, I think we've heard the Treasurer concede that what that's going to do is it's going to present to South Australians a staggering $7 million a day in interest alone. Now, I know what $7 million could do this year for my constituents in Hyson. I know what $7 million could do next month and next year for those constituents in Morphett or in Hammond. Indeed, those constituents of members of the backbench on the other side, government members who must be now looking on to their Treasurer with dismay and saying, well, while South Australians are going to be bearing this multi-million-dollar daily interest cost, where are the opportunities for real relief and real achievement for South Australians locally and throughout our state? We know, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, that this is a time when hard-working South Australians are being crushed by the rising cost of living. And at this time, South Australians will have been approaching this budget about as soberly as one could ever. Far from looking for more bells and whistles, more vanity projects, more bread and circuses, South Australians will have been approaching this budget time soberly indeed. And what they have heard is that Labor is not for them. Labor is not for providing the relief to this cost of living crisis because there is no meaningful relief. So while we know that Labor is entirely out of touch with South Australians' needs, we are now going to see that should, heaven forbid, there be some economic shock that comes along, dare I say, some further shock to a regional town in South Australia, some shock that affects us throughout the country. What Labor's done is render us vulnerable. There is nothing left in the stores. We've got this $48.5 billion debt hanging over us. And so what we're going to see when that day comes, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, is what Labor Party always does when it runs out of your money to spend, and that is we're going to start to see desperate measures. We're going to start to see more of the bill increases, just like they've started down the track with those water bill increases. So no vision, no competence, and no relief for South Australians suffering under this crisis overseen by Malinowskis Labor. It's a disgrace, and South Australians will be hearing from us.
Before I call on the member for